Hi there, I'm John Lebensold for Killer PHP, and today what I'm going to be doing, this is part 3 in the Advanced MySQL series on killerphp.com, and we're going to be doing some one-to-manys, and we're going to be looking at an existing script that we wrote in the last 2 videos, and building upon it to produce a constrained, well-structured schema. This is what we're creating. We're creating a database schema, and it's so far been a lot of fun. So the first thing I need to do is I need to add my foreign key constraints. And we're actually going to do this by introducing a new table first. And this table is going to be called author. So every post should have a category, and every post should have an author. So I'm going to create a table called author, ID, int, primary key. Actually, this is pretty much the same thing as this. So there's no sense in having you watch me type for nothing. So we're going to have an ID, and we're going to also have a name, and just for fun, we're also going to have an email address, also varchar 300. And it will also have an engine of InnoDB. Now, the post table is also going to change a little bit. We're going to have the category ID, but we're also going to have an author ID. So with the author ID and the category ID, we can actually join across multiple tables now and come up with something that is what's called denormalized or flat, which will have the author and the category name and the post itself, while also giving us the advantages of a relational database, where if the author decides he wants to change his email address or she wants to change her email address, we don't have to update all of the content that she produced for our website. So to do that, I am going to add a foreign key on author ID that references author ID. This is the author table. And I'm going to say on delete, no action. In other words, don't let me do it. And I'm going to have another foreign key on category ID that references the category table, and it will do exactly the same thing. So now, again, we have all of our postings, or we have all of our categories up here. And just to be a little more specific about what I'm doing, I'm going to specify an ID so that I know I'm creating the right ID every time. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm also going to be inserting some data into the authors table. So let me just put this with category, and I'm going to create an insert statement for authors as well. So insert author, ID, name, email, values, J Lebensold, or John Lebensold, that's me. My email address, john@lebensold.ca. And the ID. And let's put in some other authors to keep it interesting. So we'll have John Doe and an Emily Smith, Emily@example.com, jdoe@example.com. All right, so if I hit save, oh, and at the top here, drop table if exists author. So let's just select all this code here, copy it, and paste it into MySQL. Now I'm getting an error. It's saying table category already exists. And this is happening because if I say drop table if exist category, cannot delete or update a parent row, foreign key constraint fails. This is actually a good error. It means that I can't delete the category table until I delete the tables that are dependent upon it. In this case, it's the post table. So yes, order does matter. So I want to delete the post table first, then the category table, then the author table. Also, the category table and the author table are sometimes referred to as lookup tables. They are lookup tables because they are very simple and they just store lists of data. Whereas the post table is, a little more meaty. It's got relationships, it's got key constraints, and it's storing sort of the bulk of your data. So I'm just going to copy this again, paste it in. This time we're not getting any errors, which is a good thing. And if I do a select star from post, I'm going to have a whole bunch of null author IDs. I'm going to have my category IDs. If I do a select star from author, then I'll have my authors. And if I do a select star from category, I will have my categories. So far so good. Now, I just want to modify my category insertions to include the authors. And I'll only do it for the first 4, so you won't have to watch too much typing. And here, I'll just assign that one to me, assign this one to John Doe, and assign this one to Emily Smith, and assign this one to John Doe again. Select all, copy, and paste again. And now, if I look at my author IDs, as you can see from this query, we're also getting a category ID, and now we're also getting an author ID, which is perfect. Now, if we want to do a left join, it's going to be a little more complicated this time. If we want to left join, we're actually left joining across multiple tables now. So it's almost like we have to join once, and then we have to take that glued table and then join that with something else. So we just keep gluing tables together as we move along. So if we look at the join statement that we wrote in our last tutorial, it was select star from post P left join category C on, and then the 2 IDs that we were going to join against. I'm going to do the same thing again, get rid of the semicolon, there's no comma, there's nothing, you just have to keep moving along. So you say left join author A on p.authorID equals a.id. And now we're joining this subset of our query to this statement over here. So we're slowly building up a more and more complex table. So now, if you can see what's going on, is we're getting the authors, we're getting the names, we're also getting the author names, and we are getting the author email addresses. Now, this is starting to get a little unwieldy, and you'd probably want to start using your select statements a little more carefully to make sure that you're only getting the data that the columns that you want. So we probably only want p.id, maybe the category, c.name, a.name, and here I'm going to use as author name. And if I hit enter again, then you're going to see that it becomes ID, name, author name. And actually, so here we're using aliasing again. This is exactly like saying post P. I can say a.name as author name, because we have multiple columns called name now, so it becomes a lot harder for us to figure out what name we're talking about, especially in a language like PHP, where we're reliant on whatever the SQL query returns. So if I do p.star, then I will get actually a very nice looking display. It'll be the ID, the title, the content, the category ID, the author ID, and then I get the name and the author name. So this we can actually, I'm just going to paste this back into my text editor so it's easy to modify. And I'm going to turn on wrapping. So I've got 2 left joins here, right? I've got p.star, c.name, and then a.name as author name. So I can do c.name as category name. And from post P with the 2 left joins. So if I hit copy, and paste this in, then I'm going to get everything that I could possibly want, and it's all nicely organized and so on and so forth. If I want to, for example, take this a little bit of a step further and add a where clause, it's really not that difficult. I just have to add my where clause. So here I'm going to paste this in again, except instead of just using my semicolon and calling it a day, I'm going to add my where clause after the left join and say where a.email equals jdoe@example.com. And then I'm going to get all of the postings that John Doe did with their category names and the author names and everything else, and it's really no problem. So that's a look at how we can do one-to-manys and do multiple left joins across various tables. I hope that you found this helpful. In the next video, we're going to take this a step further, and we're actually going to create a many-to-many relationship. So everything that we've done until now has been a one-to-many. If you think about it, we've got this category table in the center, or sorry, we've got this post table in the center, and then from it we have a one-to-many on the categories, and we had a one-to-many on the authors. In other words, there were many authors. There was one author for many posts, and there was one category for many posts. And now we're going to look at how we can decouple our posts from our categories. Let's say we wanted to have 10 categories for one post, and 5 categories for another post, and 3 categories for another post, and 1 category for another post. Well, again, there's a very simple way of doing it, and that relationship is called many-to-many. So we'll be looking at that next. I'm John Lebensold, and thanks for listening.